Hi, my name's John. I've just spent the past week traveling around Sicily. It's my first visit to Sicily, and I did a lot of planning before I came so I could see as much as I could in the time that I had there. And I thought maybe I'd give you a few tips on what I'd learned while I've been traveling that might help you plan your vacation to Sicily. I spent time in Palermo region and in the Syracuse region and Ortigia. I'm traveling in mid-April. It's been a little cooler than I anticipated, so if you're traveling early in the spring or late in the fall or in the winter months, make sure that you bring enough layers of clothing so that you can keep warm and enjoy the patios outdoors. In the summertime, I understand that Sicily is very hot, so it certainly is different. But at this time of year, it can be fresh at night, and it's always nice to be outside strolling around. When you're booking accommodation, I suggest that you try and book somewhere near the middle of the old city. I did a lot of walking, and in Palermo, I was able to walk and see most of the things that I wanted to without taking a bus or needing any other form of transportation. There were a lot of restaurants close by, lots of churches, the Teatro Massimo, the market. The markets in these towns were really a lot of fun to visit. They're colorful, they're full of fruits and vegetables and seafood and street food that you can sample, and a few little restaurants where you can get a sandwich or have breakfast or even have your lunch or dinner.
The Borello Market's really worth a visit. Lots of fresh fruits and vegetables and street food and little restaurants. But I advise you coming early in the day if you want to catch the market at its height, because they all pack up around 2. The restaurants, on the other hand, stay open throughout the day, and they have an interesting variety of local foods.
I had an Airbnb that overlooked the Piazza Bologna. It was a perfect location because it was only 100 meters from the Quattro Canti, and that's the main intersection of walking streets in the old city. I had a little balcony, and I was able to sit on my balcony with a glass of wine and watch people going past, listen to some of the music that was playing in the square, and it was a great place to stay. In Ortigia, you could stay just about anywhere because it's really only a 15-minute walk around the island to get to anything. I also like to wander up all the little narrow streets. Sometimes they look a little ominous because they're dark or narrow or seem to be empty, but I found it very safe to explore these areas, particularly in the old city where there are lots of tourists around, and it's my preference to take back streets to get from one place to another rather than go along the main busy thoroughfares. So do try to explore some of these little nooks and crannies of Palermo or Ortigia.
Would you ever venture down this dark alley to find somewhere good to eat? Well, I've been recommended a place at the end of the alley, and I'm going to check.
In Ortigia, there's also the seaside, and there are lots of walkways that go along the sea. So it doesn't really matter where you locate in Ortigia, you're going to be close to everything. You can also walk across the little bridge into Syracuse, and there are some things that you might want to see there, like the Greek amphitheater or the catacombs of San Giovanni, or other places in Syracuse, and that's where the train station is. It's about a 25-minute walk from Ortigia to the train station or the bus station, and other things are only another 10 or 15 minutes away. So you can pretty well walk everywhere if you're based in Ortigia. And it really wouldn't matter where in Ortigia you had your Airbnb, you're close to pretty well everything. There are lots of restaurants where you can eat. One of the things that's different from North America is that most people don't eat till around 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night, and the restaurants very often don't open until then. So if you're looking for something to eat at 5 or 6 o'clock at night, you may find that the restaurants are closed. Most of the restaurants you can just go in and get a table, but some of them are busy and require a reservation. In addition, the price on the menu is pretty much what you're going to pay. Where I come from, there's a provincial tax added to your bill, and people are expected to tip. Here there might be a small coperto fee of a couple of euros that's added just for the service at the table, but there's no tax added, and tipping, although appreciated, really isn't expected. You might leave a few coins or a small amount for your server. But unlike in North America, when you get the bill and you go to pay with your credit card, there's not a place to add a tip. Credit cards are accepted everywhere. I always bring some cash as well so I can get things at the market or on the street, but I found that I relied primarily on credit cards for payment of services or at restaurants or buying tickets. You can buy tickets for the train, for example, online as well. If you want to get to some of the more remote areas or perhaps some of the beaches that are off the beaten track in Sicily, you might have to rent a car. But to get to most small towns or to take a day trip somewhere, public transport worked really well. When I was reading up about coming to Sicily, I got the idea that perhaps public transportation wasn't so reliable. But in fact, I found quite the opposite. I could get buses around a city, you could get buses from one center to another, you could get a bus from the city to a small town not too far away, you could get a bus to the airport, you could get trains from one part of the country to the other, and they were all reliable and not expensive and comfortable. And I would feel a little bit uncomfortable driving, so I preferred to use the public transport. It also gets you to see some of the local people a little bit more. I think it's a good idea to learn a few Italian phrases so that you can order food or say thank you or respond to how are you. I think that's only polite. I try to bumble through with some Italian, and I think it's always appreciated when you make an effort to speak the local language. This would apply to going anywhere, really. I'd also suggest that you read up a little bit in advance. That gives you an idea of how you might want to spend your time most efficiently. Everybody has different interests, and there's no way you can see everything. So reading a little bit or looking at some YouTube videos about wherever you're going, that will give you some sense of what you want to accomplish in the few days that you have to see these places. There are a lot of things to see, and everybody's interest would be different. I certainly enjoyed my week in Sicily, and if you're planning a trip there, I hope you enjoy it too. Maybe some of the things I've told you will help you as you plan your vacation. Safe travels.